Oh, and we have a part two because the memory ran out and I had to go and optimize and free up some space. So I'd almost finished anyway. But I guess now I've paused for a few moments. There is this notion of you're never really going to be able to understand this. It's always been there. You should try. So, people should try, and it's a little bit of a crazy field to go into, and it's not something that I indulge in too much or think about too much. I'll be honest. Um, it's a bit like with the magical, like getting obsessed with all the different books and systems, and to the point where you just don't practice. It's like you need a little bit of that, but you don't want to go too far. Um, but you do need to apply a little bit of obsessiveness in order to find somewhere to rest. So yeah, had a UFO experience as a child, and when I was that 19-year-old guy living in that little room, which was underground, like I say, band had split up, doing a shit job, no hope, no future. The whole UFO thing, because it was an imaginative escape, which was also something that was really going on, even though most of it on the outside was bullshit. At the core, there was a real experience, and you could tell that. And I knew that because I'd experienced something and would go on to experience more through, psychedelics. And I mean, this does relate. It can relate to the wider paranormal field, definitely. Um, but yeah, I remember going to sleep in that room and waking up with these nightmares about these little beings standing over me. And I remember waking up with like a strange scar on my skin that I was convinced that hadn't been there before, you know. And I think it's because I was young, I was, obviously, less educated and going through, you know, I've always been wise for my age, don't get me wrong. And it was something that I largely kept to myself. But it was more of a question. It was like, I'm reading about this stuff. Is it happening to me? And the answer to that question would have been perhaps a tiny bit, but not how you think. And merely thinking about it, a wasp has come in again. I'm getting another visitor. I'm about to blow his little mind, give him an experience, give him a trauma. What was I saying? Yeah, So it's like, yeah, you have an experience, and it's a magical thing. It's like you read, like if you read books on magic, you have magical experiences. UFO phenomenon is the same. If you obsess over it, it's going to start happening, and this is what happens with the paranormal, with the with all of this edge stuff. If you're so inclined, you kind of magically draw it into your world through your intentions. And so again, it's like, oh, why is it? Oh, I saw the UFO, had the ghost, lived in a haunted house when I was younger, and I had the out of body experiences, and I have the magical initiation, a few of them over the years, and I have the Ouija board thing, and it's me that ends up coming into contact with this goddess in the local landscape. It's me that when I take ayahuasca, I'm chosen as the shaman, and I stand objectively outside of this, and I say, someone of a lesser mind, this would really start to form their inner core. It would be like, well, it's like, the world pretty much doesn't give a shit about you, and life's tough. So anything you've got going on for you, it will start to form the core of your identity, and you might start going a bit over the top. So I recognize how that can happen to people. But you see, you know, being a window cleaner right now is the perfect analogy. I'm up, but I'm also down. I can't get too carried away when I'm cleaning bird shit off windows. You know, I'm a little bit more grounded, you know. There's that side to me, you know. And so it's embarrassing. It's like, oh, and also once when I was in the woods, I had like a big cat type experience, seeing, you know, a very large animal that shouldn't have been there. You know, this is when I was out hunting. I did a bit of deer hunting a few years back, and again, it's this meditative quality. You're waiting silently in the woods, and on this, I mean, there were some magical moments of seeing, you know, the silhouette of an antlered deer, you know, on the horizon with the, you know, with the dawn light behind it, and it was flashed up and it was gone. And but yeah, I remember this one particular experience of waiting in the woods while the other guy I was working with would sort of walk around the woods in a circle, making noise, banging trees to bring anything that was in the woods into the center where I was waiting with the, you know, with the rifle. And you know, I tell you what, kind of crazy looking back, really, all that. And there's nothing wrong with hunting for food, of course there's not, but I did see the negative side of all that as well at the time, I'll be honest with you. I saw both sides of the argument, but anyway, who gives a fuck, right? So we're talking about, you know, UFOs, and that's branched out into many, many strange experiences, and why these group themselves around people, particular people. So in the woods, something just darts out in front of me. It's like, it's taller than a dog usually is. It's a kind of silvery beige, and it doesn't act like a dog, because a dog would be like, it would sort of pop its ears up, and it would be, you know, they're too domesticated. This was wild. It was like, whoosh, stopped, looked at me, whoosh, gone. That was proper, you know, living in the woods mode. And for a minute I thought it was a wolf, like, so big. And then the other guy that I was working with, when I told him, he said, oh yeah, there have been big cat sightings in the area. So just happened to be lucky enough to catch one of those as well. But who knows? You see, when you're that way tuned, it's tuning into you. And this is why these subject matters and this world is full of losers who are not able to cope with that influx. You know, the sense of specialness is kind of silly. You know, there are lots of very grounded and decent individuals, but they're not the ones shouting, so you tend not to notice them, you know, so much. And this brings me down, you know, talking about all of this stuff and all this weird stuff going on. I mean, God, we didn't even get into if we went into, you know, angelic visitations and, you know, the whole magic and goddess of Bluebell Hill thing, but we can't. That's why I've created this channel, because there is so much that I should lay down on the way out, you know. When I say on the way out, it makes it sound like I'm not going to be here very long. I'll be here a while. And I just work too hard to be, you know, working on a book right now in the evenings or something, which is something I wanted to do and still do plan on doing. But unfortunately, going up and down that ladder all day, it's very difficult, and it's a lot easier just to switch on this camera and talk. And so yeah, all this stuff groups together with certain individuals, and it's a rare individual that can stand objectively and kind of deal with that sensibly. There is this line in a song what was it? Something about you show that which you most want to hide. Something like this. It was a song about pagan people. They tend to show what they want to hide. That's the danger, you know, that whole world, you know, which I am a part of, you know, and I also stand outside of it, and you know, we have many different roles and, you know, aspects to us, and so given all of that stuff and how it goes on and it goes round forever, it's all very interesting, but this is why it's best to keep things simple and focus on ability above all things, you know. And obviously I'm quoting, you know, part of the the instruction that I'm being given in the school that I belong to. It's very, very true as well, very wise, you know. It's all very wonderful, but what you want to focus on is the ability, because focusing on the ability, in other words, in my particular case, say meditation and, you know, practical skills and, you know, techniques for balancing the consciousness to begin with, and then there'll be more complicated stuff later on, of course, which obviously I've ventured into in my own way, but I'm specifically talking about the course that I'm on. So if you just focus on ability, keep a healthy interest but stay out of the ideology, then you're more likely to come into contact with truth. Take care.